In the grand theatre of American political history, few families evoke as much adulation and aggravation as the Clintons. Indeed, former President Bill Clinton, with his magnetic charm, steered the nation through a historic economic renaissance, while former Senator and Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, a formidable force in her own right, shattered glass ceiling after glass ceiling. Yet, beneath this gleaming surface, the Clinton family saga is inextricably tied to deep and unending controversy. From whispers of corruption to associating with some of the most unscrupulous characters in recent memory, few last names in American history have been so simultaneously revered and reviled as that of a Clinton. In today's episode, we trace their journey from the backwoods of Middle America to the White House and beyond, highlighting the dual facets of their story, profound achievement shadowed by diabolical controversy, as we describe the Clintons, America's most controversially successful political family. The Clinton family, love them or loathe them, has been one of the most powerful lineages in not just the United States, but for the entire world, for more than 30 years at this point. And much of its notoriety began with President Bill Clinton's presidency. Indeed, a rollicking roller coaster of economic highs and scandalous lows. You see, on one hand, his 8-year tenure saw the US economy revel in its longest peacetime expansion ever. Thus, those of us old enough to remember life before cell phones can also remember the 90s economic boom, with over 22 million new jobs popping up like mushrooms after rain, and unemployment and inflation rates plummeting to levels unseen in decades. But the pièce de résistance was Clinton transformed a staggering $290 billion deficit into a $236 billion surplus by 2000. That's right, folks. Billy Blythe Clinton took the Yanks from red ink to a financial green dream, an unthinkable moment in today's spend more to make up for the fact we spent too much climate of today's economics. Meanwhile, Hillary Clinton wasn't content to play second fiddle. In 2000, she stepped out of the shadows and into the history books as the first former First Lady to clinch a US Senate seat, and not just any seat. She became New York's first female senator. Beating Republican Rick Lazio in a tightly contested race, she paved the way for her own political saga. And as Secretary of State from 2009 to 2013, Hillary pivoted America towards Asia with more precision than a seasoned yoga instructor. Her diplomatic dance card included signing the Treaty of Amity and Cooperation in Southeast Asia and securing the US a spot in the East Asia Summit. Furthermore, post-White House, the Clintons didn't just retire to a life of lucrative book deals and speaking gigs. Oh no, they forged a new empire with the Clinton Global Initiative. Founded in 2001, right after they left the White House, the foundation has grown into a global behemoth with over 2,000 employees and initiatives spanning from climate change to childhood obesity. And financially, the foundation is a juggernaut, raising nearly $2 billion since its launch, with a donor list that reads like a who's who of the global elite. Goldman Sachs, Coca-Cola, Norway, Australia, Kuwait, you name it, they've got it. However, this financial prowess hasn't come without its fair share of side-eye. Critics have scrutinized the foundation's fundraising practices, especially during Hillary's stint as Secretary of State and her presidential run, with whispers of potential conflicts of interest echoing through the halls of power. And let's not forget the sordid soap opera that was Bill Clinton's romantic escapades. The Monica Lewinsky affair was the headliner, exploding into public view in 1998. Clinton's initial denial, "I did not have relations with that woman," morphed into a sheepish admission after undeniable evidence surfaced. The scandal led to his impeachment by the House on charges of perjury and obstruction of justice, though the Senate ultimately acquitted him. And Monica was just the tip of the iceberg. Bill's past included a purported 12-year affair with Jennifer Flowers, allegations from Paula Jones of harassment, settled out of court for $850,000, and a R-word accusation by Juanita Broaddrick, which he has steadfastly denied. Throw in the Whitewater real estate fiasco and the Travelgate and Filegate controversies, and you've got a veritable scandal stew. Remarkably, Bill Clinton's popularity with his base hasn't faltered, despite these scandals. Dubbed the comeback kid after his 1992 New Hampshire primary surge, his approval ratings hit a jaw-dropping 73% post-impeachment. And by the time he left office, he boasted a 66% approval rating, the highest for any outgoing president since World War II. But Hillary, no stranger to controversy herself, was dogged by the infamous email scandal during her tenure as Secretary of State. The use of a private email server for official business sparked an FBI investigation and became a thorn in her side during the 2016 presidential campaign. Though no charges were brought, the incident tainted her public image, feeding into narratives of secrecy and distrust. Her basket of deplorables comment didn't help, painting her as elitist and out of touch. Yet despite the myriad scandals, the Clintons' influence remains formidable. Their ability to attract support and stay relevant speaks to their political savvy. And whether admired or reviled, the Clintons' legacy is one of reinvention and relentless ambition. However, how did a working-class son of a fractured home and a bookish lady from Illinois come to reign as one of America's most iconic political dynasties? We'll have to go back in time to a little place called Hope, Arkansas. William Jefferson Blythe. The third, forever known to history as Bill Clinton, first drew breath on the 19th of August 1946 in the humble surroundings of Hope, Arkansas, and his roots stretched back through generations characterized by grit and the harshness of personal loss. His great-grandfather, one Henry Patton Foote Blythe, was born in Tipper County, Mississippi in 1851, and the surname Blythe, Bill's birth name, heralded from English meaning cheerful or pleasant, and hinted at a Scottish lineage tied to namesake locales in Berwickshire and Peeblesshire in Scotland. Now this Henry, after taking Frances Ellen Fanny Hines as his bride, welcomed William Jefferson Blythe II, Bill's grandfather, into the world in the mid-1880s. And by 1906, William II had forged his own family, marrying Lou Birchie Ayres. Together, they bore one William Jefferson Blythe Jr., Bill's father, who entered the world on a cold day in February 1918 in Sherman, Texas. But tragedy struck harshly and abruptly when Bill Clinton's father perished in a car crash near Sikeston, Missouri, on the 17th of May 1946, merely 3 months before his son Bill was born. This dark shroud of sorrow draped heavily over the Blythe family, profoundly affecting young Bill's early life. Now Bill's maternal lineage traced back to James Eldridge Cassidy and Edith Valley Grisham, a couple who married in January 1922. They ran a modest grocery store in Hope, a gathering place where their granddaughter, Virginia Dell Cassidy, Bill's mother, often lent a hand. Following the tragic loss of her husband, Bill's mother, Virginia, with child, returned to her parents' embrace, where she soon welcomed young Bill into the world. Then, in 1950, Virginia remarried Roger Clinton Sr., a car salesman, and less than the idyllic stepfather to young Bill. Indeed, stepdad Roger brought tumult and strife into Bill's childhood home, marked by his struggles with alcoholism and a violent temper. However, this marriage also gave Bill a half-brother, Roger Clinton Jr., born in 1956, who would be a constant source of difficulty over the course of Bill Clinton's life, even into the presidency. And although Bill initially used his stepfather's surname informally, it was not until he was 14 that he officially adopted the Clinton name, a nod to familial unity and connection to his brother. Throughout these tough years, Bill found solace and guidance in the arms of his maternal grandparents, Eldridge and Edith Cassidy, and their store became a beacon of the fight for civil rights, extending credit to customers regardless of race, an uncommon practice amidst the era's stark racial divides. And as he grew, Bill Clinton's intellectual and musical prowess began to emerge. He performed well in school, displaying a remarkable aptitude that hinted at the profound impact he would one day have on the world stage. He attended Hot Springs High School, and as a student leader, avid reader, and talented musician, he excelled, playing the tenor saxophone and briefly contemplating a career in music before setting his sights on public service. Meanwhile, in Chicago, Illinois, another young life was unfolding with equal promise. One, Hillary Diane Rodham, born on the 26th of October 1947, had a rich heritage, reflecting the complex tapestry of American immigration. Her ancestry blended English, Welsh, Scottish, French, and Dutch roots, with 7 of her 8 great-grandparents being immigrants to the United States. For example, Hillary's paternal grandfather, Hugh Simpson Rodham Sr., was born in August 1879 in Keogh, County Durham, England, and eventually emigrated to the US as his family sought better fortunes in America. Hugh married Hannah Anna Jones, the daughter of Welsh immigrants, in May 1902 in Binghamton, New York, in a union that crossed social barriers of the time. Additionally, Hugh S. Rodham and Hannah Jones's marriage produced Hillary's father, Hugh Ellsworth Rodham, born on April 2, 1911, in Scranton, Pennsylvania. And on her maternal side, Hillary's family history was equally complex. Dorothy Emma Howell, Hillary's mother, was born on the 4th of June 1919 in Chicago, and Dorothy's early years were marked by hardship and abandonment, a story often recounted by Hillary. Dorothy married Hugh Ellsworth Rodham in 1942, and they had 3 children: Hillary, born in 1947, and her brothers, Hugh Jr., born in 1950, and Tony, born in 1954. Strangely, Hillary Clinton's public accounts of her family's immigration history have occasionally been inaccurate. In 2015, she claimed all her grandparents were immigrants, though only Hugh S. Rodham Sr. was foreign-born. In 1965, Hillary graduated, the same year Bill graduated from Hot Springs High School. However, just 2 years earlier, a pivotal moment in Bill's life occurred when he attended the American Legion Boys Nation program in Washington, D.C. in 1963. As a delegate, he visited the White House and met none other than President John F. Kennedy. This brief encounter left a lasting impression, inspiring Bill's lifelong commitment to public service. And President Clinton later recalled this moment as one of his most influential experiences, alongside watching Martin Luther King Jr.'s "I Have a Dream" speech. Both Bill and Hillary went on to attend prestigious universities, Bill at Georgetown University and Hillary at Wellesley College, where they would hone their skills, unknowingly preparing for their future roles in running the country. In the next chapter, we'll document the transition from promising students to up-and-coming world leaders that the Clinton duo experienced. In the tumultuous year of 1968, surrounded by a world in flux, a young Bill Clinton walked the hallowed halls of Georgetown University, graduating with a degree in foreign service, and his tenure there was far from ordinary. As class president and intern for the influential Arkansas Senator J. William Fulbright, Clinton sharpened his political instincts and deepened his dedication to public service. Thus, Georgetown wasn't just an academic stop. It was a crucible where his political aspirations were forged. Fresh from Georgetown's ivy-clad portals, Clinton snagged a coveted and prestigious Rhodes Scholarship, propelling him across the Atlantic to Oxford University. Initially, he dove into a bachelor's in philosophy, politics, and economics, but soon pivoted to a bachelor's in politics. And though the spectre of the Vietnam War draft cut short his Oxford sojourn, the experience was transformative, and it expanded his worldview and cemented his political ambitions. While Clinton was carving his path at Oxford, another star was rising. In 1969, Hillary Rodham made waves as she graduated from Wellesley College, and she broke new ground as the first student to deliver a commencement speech, a bold, incisive critique of the political landscape that spotlighted her commitment to social justice. Furthermore, her Wellesley years were a whirlwind of student politics, culminating in her presidency of the College Government Association. Hillary's eloquence and leadership during that commencement speech thrust her into the national spotlight, marking her as a burgeoning political force. Now, by 1970, back in the States, Bill Clinton was enrolled at Yale Law School, where fate and shared passions brought him together with Hillary Rodham. Their relationship, built on a mutual dedication to public service and perhaps conspiratorial controversy, blossomed into a partnership that would become legendary. Bill Clinton graduated in 1973 and returned to Arkansas to teach at the University of Arkansas School of Law, before taking his first political plunge in 1974 by running for the House of Representatives against incumbent Republican John Paul Hammerschmidt. Although he lost, it was a nail-bitingly close race that showcased his potential. and this campaign was a vital apprenticeship, laying the foundation for his future political endeavors. The following year, on the 11th of October 1975, Bill and Hillary tied the knot in a modest ceremony in Fayetteville, Arkansas, intertwining their destinies both personally and professionally. Just 3 years later, a seismic shift in Clinton's career occurred as he was elected governor of Arkansas in the 1978 election at the tender age of 32, one of the youngest in the nation's history. And his campaign, centered on educational reform and economic development, resonated with voters and set the stage for his rise to national prominence. Additionally, in 1978, they partnered with James and Susan McDougal in the Whitewater Development Corporation, a real estate venture that would later spark outrage and investigation. But at the time, it was merely another partnership in their early political development. Now, as governor, Clinton deftly balanced progressive policies with fiscal conservatism, tackling education reform, welfare improvements, and economic development, though not without facing fierce opposition from various interest groups. One of his hallmark initiatives, a highway improvement program funded by increased vehicle registration fees and fuel taxes, met with public disfavor and contributed to his 1980 gubernatorial defeat. However, this setback was but a temporary blip. 1980 also brought personal joy with the birth of Chelsea Victoria Clinton in Little Rock, and as their only child, Chelsea's arrival was a poignant milestone amid political upheaval, humanizing the Clintons and allowing voters to see them as a relatable, modern political family. Then, Clinton's deft political skill shone through as he returned to the governor's office in 1983, serving for another decade and solidifying his political credentials, and the beginning of a long tenure that would serve as a springboard for his national ambitions. Yet, little did the Clinton family know that their return to the governorship was just the beginning of both an unprecedented series of successes and unmatched set of controversies. After a successful, non-consecutive decade as the governor of Arkansas, on the 3rd of October 1991, Bill Clinton, with characteristic charisma, stood on the steps of the old State House in Little Rock to announce his candidacy for the presidency. And despite early controversies, including allegations of marital infidelity and draft dodging, Clinton's ability to connect with voters and his economic message propelled him to the forefront of the Democratic primaries. Emerging as the frontrunner, Clinton's campaign against President George H.W. Bush and independent Ross Perot was deftly managed. His centrist message, encapsulated in the phrase, "It's the economy, stupid," struck a chord with recession-weary voters. And the dynamic Clinton-Gore ticket presented a youthful contrast to the incumbent administration, culminating in a decisive victory on the 3rd of November 1992. Then, on the 20th of January 1993, amidst an atmosphere brimming with promise, William Jefferson Clinton was inaugurated as the 42nd President of the United States, ushering in a new era of Democratic leadership after 12 years of Republican control of the White House. The inauguration ceremony, held on the West Front of the United States Capitol, drew an estimated crowd of 800,000 people, making it one of the largest inaugural gatherings in American history. And his inaugural address called for renewal and unity, echoing the themes of his campaign and signaling a new era. The Clintons walked down Pennsylvania Avenue, symbolized their connection with the public, a hallmark of Clinton's presidency that promised dynamic, youthful leadership. And from the outset of his presidency, Clinton focused on economic reform and healthcare as key priorities. He quickly established a task force on national healthcare reform, chaired by First Lady Hillary Clinton, to develop a comprehensive plan for universal healthcare coverage. This unprecedented role for a presidential spouse underscored the administration's commitment to healthcare reform, but also set the stage for intense scrutiny and opposition. And in September 1993, President Clinton presented his vision for overhauling the nation's healthcare system to a joint session of Congress. However, the Clinton healthcare plan faced significant challenges from its inception. Opposition mounted from conservatives, libertarians, and the health insurance industry, which launched effective advertising campaigns against the proposal, and the complexity of the plan and the closed-door nature of its development also drew criticism. Despite initial public support, The reform effort lost momentum as competing Democratic proposals emerged and bipartisan backing failed to materialize. Meanwhile, as the healthcare reform initiative faltered, the Clinton administration faced another significant challenge with the emergence of the Whitewater scandal in 1994. You see, the controversy centered around the Clintons' aforementioned involvement in a failed real estate venture called the Whitewater Development Corporation in the late 1970s and early 1980s. Questions arose about the nature of the Clintons' investment, their relationship with business partners Jim and Susan McDougal, and potential connections to the failed Madison Guaranty Savings and Loan. The scandal then gained traction when the Resolution Trust Corporation, investigating the collapse of Madison Guaranty, issued criminal referrals mentioning the Clintons. In January 1994, Attorney General Janet Reno appointed Robert B. Fisk as special counsel to investigate the Whitewater matter. And later that year, Kenneth Starr replaced Fisk as independent counsel, broadening the scope of the investigation. The Whitewater investigations cast the first major shadow over the Clinton presidency, leading to numerous hearings, subpoenas, and intense media scrutiny. While the Clintons maintained their innocence, the controversy consumed significant political capital and diverted attention from the administration's policy agenda. The investigations would continue for several years, eventually expanding to include other matters and culminating in the Monica Lewinsky scandal and President Clinton's impeachment in 1998. Furthermore, the unsettling death of Deputy White House counsel Vince Foster on the 20th of July 1993 reverberated through the corridors of power in Washington, igniting a flurry of theories around the Clintons' alleged involvement. You see, Foster, a lifelong confidant and close friend of President Bill Clinton, was found deceased in Fort Marcy Park, but was ruled to have ended his own life. However, this conclusion failed to quell the whispers of foul play and supposed cover-ups among Clinton detractors. And Foster's suspicious passing has remained a potent symbol in the arsenal of anti-Clinton rhetoric for years to follow. Then, in 1994, the Troopergate scandal burst into the public sphere, further marring Clinton's image. Specifically, several Arkansas state troopers alleged that they had arranged extramarital liaisons for then-Governor Clinton, according to reports by the American Spectator and the Los Angeles Times. Describing a governor who wielded his influence to orchestrate secretive rendezvous, these troopers portrayed themselves as enablers of Clinton's indiscretions, acting as lookouts and chauffeurs. Despite Clinton's denials, these revelations intensified the scrutiny of his character and personal integrity, and were only the beginning in a long list of controversies regarding Clinton's loyalty to his marriage. Yet amidst these scandals, significant policy shifts were also underway. In 1996, President Clinton fulfilled on a campaign pledge to transform the U.S. welfare system and implemented landmark legislation that imposed work requirements and set a 5-year federal benefits cap, more commonly known as welfare to work. This overhaul granted states greater autonomy in managing welfare while bolstering child support enforcement and aiming to curb the rates of out-of-wedlock births. The next year brought another major legislative achievement with the signing of the Balanced Budget Act of 1997. Crafted through a compromise with the Republican-led Congress and Speaker Newt Gingrich, the act sought to eliminate the federal budget deficit by 2002 via spending reductions and increased revenues. And this period culminated in the late 1990s economic boom, resulting in the first federal budget surpluses since 1969, a zenith not seen since the fiscal discipline of the era. Thus, these twin legislative victories, the welfare reform of 1996 and the fiscal retrenchment of 1997, not only marked high points of Clinton's domestic agenda, but also left enduring imprints on America's social and fiscal landscapes, all the while unknowingly serving as preludes to one of the most morally controversial and economically successful second terms in the history of the presidency. After one of the most comfortable re-elections for a second term in recent memory, President Bill Clinton became embroiled in his most notorious controversy ever, and on the 19th of December 1998, he faced impeachment by the House of Representatives. At the time, This was only the second instance of a president being impeached, and Clinton was charged with perjury and obstruction of justice, allegations stemming from his extramarital entanglement with Monica Lewinsky, a White House intern. Ironically, the scandal surfaced during an investigation initially targeting the Clintons' involvement in the Whitewater land deal, but the scope widened dramatically after Linda Tripp disclosed taped conversations of Lewinsky detailing her liaison with the president. But Clinton, having denied the affair under oath during a deposition in Paula Jones's harassment lawsuit, found his assertions contradicted by Lewinsky's eventual grand jury testimony under immunity, acknowledging their affair, and Clinton later conceded to misleading under oath. The ensuing Senate trial, beginning early 1999, concluded on February 12th, with Clinton's acquittal on all charges, as neither reached the two-thirds vote needed for conviction. However, the stain of the Clinton impeachment and his clear moral ambiguity has never left the family's purview when seen through the lens of history. With that said, the American economy continued to boom during President Clinton's second term, and when it concluded in January 2001, his popularity was paradoxically robust, posting some of the highest approval ratings of an outgoing president in history. Post-presidency, Bill founded the Clinton Foundation in 2001, aiming to tackle global issues like climate change and public health. And by 2015, the foundation had mobilized nearly $2 billion, showcasing the Clintons' formidable fundraising capabilities, albeit accompanied by scrutiny over potential conflicts of interest as Hillary's political influence persisted. You see, simultaneously, Hillary Rodham Clinton was carving her path in politics, notably capturing New York's U.S. Senate seat on the 7th of November 2000, thus becoming the first First Lady elected to public office. Therefore, as the Clintons transitioned from their roles in the White House, Hillary, as a newly minted senator, and Bill, as a global philanthropist, they remained pivotal figures in American political life. The dawn of 2001 marked not an end, but a vibrant new chapter for the Clinton legacy, filled with opportunities for contributions to both global philanthropy and domestic politics. Then, after her service in the Senate, Hillary made her first significant attempt to run for the presidency in 2008. And her campaign against Barack Obama was memorably intense and competitive, introducing her strong political aspirations and serving as a harbinger for future electoral runs. Despite her loss in the Democratic primaries, Clinton's political journey was far from over, and in 2009, Clinton accepted the role of United States Secretary of State under President Barack Obama, focusing on mending and strengthening America's international relationships. Her tenure as Secretary of State saw her deeply involved in pivotal events and strategic initiatives, including the Obama administration's Pivot to Asia, aimed at reinforcing ties with Asian countries, and she was notably involved in the strategic planning and execution of the mission that led to the assassination of Osama bin Laden in 2011. However, her tenure was not without controversy, notably the September 11, 2012, attack on the U.S. diplomatic compound in Benghazi, Libya, which led to the tragic loss of 4 American lives, including U.S. Ambassador Christopher Stevens. This incident unleashed a torrent of scrutiny over the security measures at the compound and the subsequent response by the Obama administration. Clinton consequently found herself at the heart of the storm, navigating through several congressional probes and an independent review board. Furthermore, this controversy bled into her 2016 presidential campaign, further fueled by another scandal involving her use of a private email server during her tenure as Secretary of State. This issue attracted an FBI investigation and became a central theme of her presidential run, challenging her image and her claim to the presidency, despite her historical nomination as the first woman to top the ticket of a major U.S. political party. Clinton's 2016 campaign was thus marred by the resurfacing of the email controversy, especially with FBI Director James Comey's 11th-hour revelation of reopening the investigation, a move that many believe sharply dented her electoral prospects. Despite these challenges, Hillary's campaign had groundbreaking achievements, and she made history as the first woman to become the presidential nominee of a major U.S. political party, representing a monumental step forward for women in politics. Moreover, Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by nearly 2.9 million votes, highlighting widespread voter support across the nation and further legitimizing the eventual vision of a woman in the White House at some point in the near future. However, on the 8th of November, in an outcome that shocked many, Hillary Clinton lost the presidential race to Donald Trump, with Trump's victory in crucial battleground states securing him the presidency via the Electoral College. Therefore, the legacy of Hillary's trajectory from First Lady to arguably legitimizing the prospect of a female president is bittersweet, as it was simultaneously historic and controversial for matters that pertain perhaps to the specific family that lodged the iconic run, as opposed to the prospect of a woman president overall. Furthermore, in the subsequent years, the Clinton family found themselves under renewed scrutiny linked to notorious financier Jeffrey Epstein. Now, this scrutiny was primarily directed at Bill Clinton. As unsealed court documents later revealed, President Clinton's frequent travels on Epstein's private jet, known as the Lolita Express, with records indicating at least 26 flights to myriad global destinations from 2001 to 2003. Even more shockingly, some of these trips were undertaken without his Secret Service detail, with one particularly severe claim involving Johanna Sjoberg, an Epstein victim, alleging that Epstein had insinuated Bill Clinton's preference for younger females. Despite these serious associations, Bill Clinton has vehemently denied any knowledge of Epstein's criminal activities, and asserted that he severed ties with Epstein following his initial conviction. However, the unfolding Epstein scandal has intricately woven a new layer of complexity into the Clintons' public narrative and political legacy, maintaining their position as subjects of intense media scrutiny and public discourse, despite their assertions of disengagement and innocence. Additionally, there is one well-known member of the family, and consequently the veritable future of the Clintons, that we'll cover in the next chapter. Chelsea Victoria Clinton, the only child of Bill and Hillary, was born on the 27th of February 1980 in Little Rock, Arkansas, during Bill Clinton's first term as governor. As the sole child of two burgeoning political figures, Chelsea was therefore thrust into the public spotlight from her earliest days. Raised in Little Rock, Chelsea was a precocious student, skipping third grade due to her advanced intellectual abilities. But her life dramatically shifted when her father won the presidency in 1992, and at just 12 years old, Chelsea found herself navigating the unique and often intense environment of the White House. Indeed, public media appearances of Chelsea as a presidential teenager embossed her in the public's mind for all time. Yet with all of the attention thrust upon her, Chelsea managed to thrive academically, eventually moving to Stanford University in 1997. After obtaining her bachelor's degree in history from Stanford in 2001, Chelsea followed in her father's academic footsteps to the University of Oxford in England, earning a master's degree. Soon, Chelsea's professional life evolved across various sectors, including consulting and finance, and her marriage to family friend Mark Mezvinsky in July 2010 captured public and media attention. In 2014, Chelsea's personal and professional life marked a notable year, welcoming her first child, Charlotte Clinton Mezvinsky, thus expanding the Clinton family, and at the same stepping into a more visible role within the Clinton Foundation. Furthermore, her involvement became particularly prominent during her mother's 2016 presidential campaign, where Chelsea actively participated, connecting with voters and articulating Hillary's policies, particularly on college campuses. Chelsea's poignant speech at the 2016 Democratic National Convention, where she proudly introduced her mother, offered a deeply personal glimpse into her upbringing. Outside the campaign trail, Chelsea continued her work with the Clinton Foundation and authored several influential books, including the She Persisted series, celebrating key women in history. And naturally, as Chelsea Clinton's public engagement intensified, so too did speculation about her potential political ambitions. Her frequent social media interactions and active participation in political dialogues fueled rumors that she might emulate her parents and venture into the electoral arena. And the failure of Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign only amplified discussions about Chelsea's possible political future, with observers keenly watching her every move for hints of an electoral bid. Despite these whispers, Chelsea's representatives steadfastly dismissed the notion of her immediate candidacy. Looking forward, the enduring impact of the Clinton family in American politics seems assured, albeit in potentially new capacities. Chelsea's future, whether in philanthropy or politics, remains a tantalizing question. However, the evolving political landscape, characterized by a growing weariness of political dynasties and a hunger for fresh leadership, poses challenges. As the Clintons continue to engage in philanthropy and public discourse, their presence remains significant in American public life. However, the association with past controversies and the evolving public sentiment against establishment politicians could lead to an enduring stain on the Clinton name that could not only challenge their current influence, but could also limit their future prospects in any political or public endeavor. And now, we'd love to see you in the comments. How will history remember the Clintons? Are they one of the most successful political dynasties ever? Or is their connection to controversy too much of a stain on their reputation? We look forward to your responses, but be sure to play nice down there, as we hope to foster a lively yet respectful community here at Old Money Luxury. Thanks again for joining us, and cheers until next time.